Hello guys and welcome to my channel Lifestyle and Fashion Tea, and you're with your host Tracy. So let's jump right on into it. We all know what's coming up. If you don't know, you've been under a rock. I don't know where you've been, honey, but Diddy's trial is Monday. Yes, it is Monday. And oh my gosh, I wish I could be there. I wish I could get to New York, but you never know. You never know. I might can get to New York and somehow get to be a fly on the wall. So I'm not going to give up hope. But I've been hearing a few things about, well, of course, we all been hearing a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that are sticking out in my head that I'm not quite understanding. And I think that they're leaving a lot out. And one thing I think they're leaving a lot out about is Johnathan Oddie. Now, Johnathan Oddie, he actually got locked up for being, he pow all in Trump's golf course or whatever. And I can't remember, but I'm going to read the report. I can't remember if it was his golf course or his hotel. But when he got locked up, he said he was Diddy's SCX worker and he caught herpes from Diddy. I mean, just out of the blue, he started talking. And yeah, hot mess. And I was watching Jesse, Law and Crime Sidebar. If you love Law and Crime like I do, you got to watch it. Jesse Sidebar, he breaks every court case down. I love it. But let me get into Johnathan Oddie, and I'm going to show you a clip from Jesse today. Man who claimed to be Diddy's sex slave after Donald Trump's golf course pow has an alleged NDA with Diddy. Yeah, I said that. Now, why would Johnathan have an NDA with Diddy? And supposedly, Diddy gave him like $5 million, and his wife, Johnathan Oddie's wife, on this clip I'm going to show you, is with Jesse, and she says that he really ain't start acting the fool till after Diddy. But I'm just going to give you a little information on Johnathan for those who don't know. Okay, just a little bit. The alleged NDA surfaced on Wednesday, just days into jury selection for Diddy's ongoing criminal trial in New York City. The man who claimed to be Diddy's sex slave during his arrest for shooting up President Trump's golf course in Florida allegedly signed an NDA with the bad boy mogul. According to the New York Post, the outlet says that the alleged document, which appears to stem from 2014, surfaced on Wednesday. Johnathan Oddie, the alleged victim in question, said he promised his silence in exchange for $5 million. And his wife did state that he started buying this property. But I'm going to keep going for a minute. I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would, how can I put this? Master, and tell me what to do to Cassie. I was like a sex slave for them. That's what I was, Oddie said. He had just stormed into Trump's National Doral Golf Club in 2018 and got into a shootout with police. Now, like I said, he actually got locked up for this. He didn't get locked up for anything to do with Diddy. But do you know he has not been to trial or anything since then? And every time his trial date comes up, it keeps getting pushed back. It's been like, what, 7 years? And oddly enough, I think he had a trial date coming up that was on a day of one of the days for jury selection. And it got pushed back again. So all this sounds so odd to me. So odd to me. His wife's name, is Tanya Troutwine. She told Daily Mail that the NDA is from about the same time that they got a divorce. The date of that contract was around the same time as our divorce. I almost feel like he divorced me because he came into all this money, and so I wouldn't claim it, Troutwine said, but our lives were already going into different paths. I started feeling like a third wheel. Yeah, isn't that crazy? So I'm going to play some of the clip for you, and then I'll come back with my comments. Okay?
I've settled $4.125 million with Diddy. Okay, was he scared I was going to expose him?
I don't want to talk about Diddy right now. I want to talk about you. Help me understand you.
So why did I play that? Well, according to the Daily Mail and the New York Post, Johnathan Oddie may have in fact signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement with Sean Combs, signing this in exchange for $5 million. And apparently, there is a picture of an NDA signed in 2014 that has surfaced. According to the report, you can see Combs' signature on it. It says, over Sean Combs, individually on behalf of Bad Boy Worldwide, Sean John Enterprises. There's a signature there. And Oddie went on to apparently tell authorities, my settlement put me in a box. Basically, I couldn't talk because I was going to be sued. They kept following me, he reportedly also said. And he also said this.
I caught herpes, and I came back and I sued him for the herpes and won. But they did Mark Garagos and Ben Mercedes were his attorneys, okay? And Christopher Leon's here was my attorney. They asked me to turn in that, which was the video recording, and I did so. They gave it back to me accidentally, and it's possible I threw everything out. It's possible I can produce a copy.
Yeah.
So now I'm joined by a very special guest. I mentioned at the beginning, have her on with us right now. I'm joined by Johnathan Oddie's former wife of 6 years, Tanya Troutwine. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming here on Sidebar. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for taking interest in my ex-husband's case and, everything that's been going on.
What is it like seeing your ex in the news so much recently since all of the Sean Diddy Combs news broke? I mean, I said it before, I get a million messages about your ex-husband constantly when we first did an episode. I mean, what is it like seeing his name in the news so much?
Well, when I met Johnny, he was a local celebrity in Miami. He danced for the local Spanish telenovelas. He's fluent in Portuguese, Cuban slang. So I knew when I married Johnny, he's a performer. That's not me. He's an exhibitionist. He loves people. He loves being in the limelight. So the fact that he somehow entered the limelight is not a surprise to me. That is not the shocking part. The way it happened is extremely shocking to me, extremely disheartening. And I think my initial reaction was anger, because he knew I was against violence. He was a very kind of anti-violence. So for him to enter kind of the mainstream public arena in a violent way was very disheartening and very sad, very angry and sad.
Spoken that you had a great relationship with him up until, of course, things changed.
Oh, absolutely. He helped me out of an abusive relationship. He was the guy, and I think that's why I tolerated a lot of our differences in our professional lives, because he was so, I never worried ever. I had complete freedom with him to go on the beach, to work, to meet colleagues. He wasn't controlling, he wasn't abusive in any way. And he was a lot of fun to be around. You always felt safe. He was someone that lit up a room when he walked in. He was a simple guy. He was never flashy or overdressed or anything. But him and I could literally walk into a coffee shop and everyone's head would turn. He was just that striking of a personality.
And you are still in contact with him as he's in jail?
Off and on, I've tried to have contact. They're a little bit difficult, I think, maybe protective of him because of his status and speaking. I prefer to speak to him on lawyer terms than personal. To offer any kind of assistance or advice I could have and give him a little privacy in our consultation, so he can be more open. It has not been that often because it is usually contact on a personal basis, and they do record all those recordings. So we've really limited our interaction, and I believe Johnny to be a victim, and I think victims should speak out. I'm just really concerned that it's been so many years and he hasn't really had an opportunity to speak out.
Do you know the status of his case?
It's been pending for literally 7 years, since 2018. And I find that very disheartening. At first it was COVID, because they had the big COVID. That was what he explained to me. I did call to follow up on what his attorneys are doing. His attorneys have not called me, consulted with me, talked to me in any way. I have followed other cases of his current attorney, and it does seem he kind of, lets things kind of play out on their own. There haven't been any filings. I personally would have, filed many motions to get him out by now. It is a cause of concern. I was going to try to just be support for his counsel at some point, but, it's going way further than that.
These are allegations, disturbing allegations regarding the Trump Doral incident. Do you have any idea what happened there?
I saw someone in pain, and I saw someone coming from a violent background. So, whatever transpired in that time, we were separated. It looks like he encountered a lot of violence. Now, I know he comes, from different backgrounds and cultures, and initially that's what I presume, that maybe he was triggered in some way, that, because I don't know if you remember Oscar Pistorius and the South African runner that shot his girlfriend. I was thinking, he had some episode I didn't know about. But with all the current information with the violence and, P. Diddy's life, and if they were really associated with each other that way, it's possibly he picked up that violent rhetoric from him.
Do you believe he had some sort of relationship with Sean Combs, and what do you think that relationship was?
Oh, I 100% believe he had a very close relationship with Sean Combs, and I believe it was sexual, intimately sexual and violently sexual. Now, this is only based on him telling me. I have no personal knowledge of that. I have absolutely no evidence of that besides his own representations and the representations of Cassie and, other people who have made similar claims to what he did in the police investigation video.
Is there anything that you can share about what he told you about it?
Well, I have to be careful here because,
Sure.
We do have some marital privileges that I want to respect should
Sure.
his case ever go to court or he be pulled into a case about any of this. There are also attorney-client privileges. He did consult with me. Now, Johnny did give me a lot of leeway to talk to media and press. He wants his story to be told, but he really wanted me to tell it 7 years ago. And I withheld from telling his story because I didn't want in any way interfere with his defense or his case, because as you know, a lot of things can be taken out of context, it can be misinterpreted. And I said, let's I like to respect the court system and let things play out. Obviously, he's not had a trial. So he still deserves for people to know why he lost it, what went wrong. I do believe it was as a result of a relationship with P. Diddy that's evidenced, by his contract that he signed. When he did provide me a copy of that contract and did give me permission to show it to the public 7 years again and recently in conversations, he did give it to me almost in fear of his life. Like, Tanya, I've talked to everyone. You're the last person I can talk to. Here, take this. That was kind of the way, again, until Johnny brought it up. But yeah, Johnny was an entertainer. He is a local celebrity. Like, you can go around Miami and ask people who he is, and they will know him. I wouldn't doubt it if some of the officers that day did know him, and that's why he's still walking, because he could have lost his life that day, for sure.
One of the things that I heard you say previously about this NDA, and the reason we can say that this NDA may exist is because you had noticed a change in Johnny's behavior, right? You noticed a change in terms of this urgency to move forward with a divorce filing. Can you talk about that a little bit more, and how you believe, because people might say, well, I see this page, it looks like it was signed by Sean Combs. I hear the allegations that he signed an NDA, but there was something that you articulated that I want you to explain to our audience about why you think this is proof that he signed an NDA, his behavior at the time.
Oh, absolutely. We were divorcing, and I really didn't want to divorce Johnny. I really had hope for him. I really, in my heart of hearts, felt he was going the wrong direction with getting more involved. But I thought, well, he just loves to entertain, and who am I to stop that? Who am I to interfere? So I never argued with him or fought him on it, but I thought this will play out. We were in our 30s. We weren't young pups, experimenting. And so I thought, well, he's going to phase out of this. When we got together, he said he wanted to get out of this kind of doing parties and videos and different things. And so I believed him. And I said, well, who am I not to give him a chance? And so I thought he was going to age out of that. We'd go on to something else in our relationship. It would mature, and he never stopped. And I never called him for the divorce. I didn't want a divorce. I was happy, not happy with us being separated, but happy with him as a person. It was really, to me, just his career that kept us separated, because I wasn't okay with it. He knew I wasn't. And it was like, look, get over this career and we can just move on. He came to me, and he kind of was very similar in that way. He didn't like my response. He didn't like that I didn't like his career. And so that's where we kind of just let things lay for a while. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he calls me. He's like, I need a divorce. And I'm like, okay, we were separated. I'm like, sure, we'll do it. And he's like, okay, I need you to do the paperwork. Well, I'm an attorney. Of course, I could do the paperwork. A divorce is quite simple. We don't have any assets together. We didn't have any children. It's a very, simple divorce. I prepared the paperwork. I was going to file it. All of a sudden, he hires a lawyer. And the lawyers call me, you need to sign this paperwork. You need to get it signed. And I was like, what are you talking about, Jane? You told me you had no money. Why are you hiring a lawyer when I'm a lawyer? I can do the paperwork. It's not a problem. Oh, you're taking too long. And I'm talking, this is within a few days or weeks. And we've been married 6 years. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm taking too long. And you have to hire a lawyer. Where are you even getting money? I did ask him that. Where are you getting money to hire a lawyer? That you can't just let me handle this. And then it was his lawyer that told him to file the financial affidavit, that he was a personal trainer, which, I know he did way more than personal training. And that was it. And I was like, okay, fine. And I remember when we went to file the paperwork, we had a notary there. I literally rushed out of the house to sign the paperwork. That's how much he was pressuring me. So it wasn't just me thinking it. And I was like, my God, okay, let me do it. And I knew something was up, but he wanted a divorce, I'm going to give it. And maybe he met a new girl. She's giving him a hard time, So I went and forgot my ID. notary public was like, oh, I'm not doing this. And he kind of looked at us like, you know, when people just say, why are you two shouldn't be getting divorced? It was one of those odd moments. But it was, you know, he could just tell we still cared for each other, I think. And he was just like, well, you didn't bring your ID. I'm not going to do this. And I said, that's fine. You know, I'll take the paperwork, go get it notarized and bring it back. So I went to get to local notary, and he wouldn't leave me alone about getting the paperwork back to him. And I was like, what is going on? It's like, whatever. Just, I went and got the paperwork done. I gave it back to him. And that's all I heard about it. And, you know, I was just fine. I think I even got upset and told his lawyer, you know, he's a like, I was just upset with how he pressured me through the whole thing, and, you know, acted like somehow I was going to create a problem for the divorce. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we've never had a problem in our marriage. Why are we going to have one in our divorce? So you know, it was not a comfortable divorce, but it was what it was. So he went on his way, I went on my way, and that was it. And I didn't even know about the agreement till he randomly contacted me one night, like, and it was a few weeks before the shooting, and it was just rambling, and I signed this deal for all this money, and he started just throwing lawyer names left and right, half I've never heard of. I think Gloria Allred was one of the names I'd heard, because I admire her. She was one of my inspirations to actually become a lawyer. You know, I studied her throughout my entire life in her cases. They were very high profile. And he mentioned her, and he mentioned a lot of other lawyers' names, and I was just like, wow, okay, maybe, you know, I was looking at it positively, that something good, but he was not himself. He was frantic. He's, you know, here, you have to take this look, here's his agreement, and he gave me a lawyer's number to contact that said he had the full agreement. I contacted that lawyer. He gave me the runaround, of course. He did meet with me. He was very kind. He was very friendly with Johnny, but he refused to go into anything to do. And he actually, I tried to work with him to co-counsel, to defend Johnny, and, you know, he kind of blocked it. So at that point, I kind of fear, well, he's a little more favorable to the guys paying for the contract than he is Johnny, and I let it go from there.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because, you know, Daily Mail reported that if you look at the divorce paperwork, as you mentioned, said he was a trainer making $2,000 a month, but then less than a month later, he apparently goes on a shopping spree, buys 5 properties for over $765,000, possibly an all-cash deal. So you wonder, again, where did the money come from? Did it come from this NDA agreement? Do you believe that Johnny is going to play a role in Sean Combs' criminal case? Do you believe that he has spoken with investigators in some capacity? Because if you look at this case where they're talking about sex workers being a part of these elaborate sexual episodes, freak-offs, Cassandra Ventura, again, we believe, could be a key witness in this case, possibly victim 1. You would think Johnny would be a key witness in this case. What can you tell us?
100%. As soon as Cassie filed her case, Johnny called me and he said, Tanya, I have information, I can help her case. And at that point, I think it took a day for them to settle. And I said, Johnny, I said, she settled the case. There's nothing to talk about. So, you know, as an investigator, or if Cassie needed support for her case, 100% Johnny would be there. And Johnny would testify and support her. And I'm sure has personal, intimate information, both about her and P. Diddy. And he would gladly share that if he felt protected in a courtroom setting. But right now, I think he's afraid. I hope he will talk, but I think he's afraid. Whether they're going to call him if he's in witness protection, I don't think so. And the reason I think so is because I don't think they need him. I think there are so many victims that it's unfathomable for us. I apologize, I'm talking so much. For us to imagine how many victims there are. And I think Johnny is one of many. And I found it very interesting in the interview when Johnny was speaking to Secret Service for Trump, and he's going off the rails on P. Diddy, and, you know, a lot of the information he had was public, but he had some intimate information as well. And the Secret Service agent just said, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about him. I don't want to hear about P. Diddy. Stop talking this nonsense. And, you know, I saw Johnny's entire demeanor change in that interview. And I thought that was a big mistake.
I mean, it was before the lawsuits. It was before the arrest. It was before the indictment. That's why people are looking at this and now and saying, oh, my gosh, was there, you know, something to this? And just to be clear, so you can't say definitively whether or not the government has subpoenaed him to come, you know, obviously he's in a very interesting, precarious predicament, but to come and be a witness in the New York trial. We can't confirm that.
No, and they have complete access to him. So literally they don't have to give him notice. And they know he's a cooperative witness. They'll know that from Cassie. You know, they'll know that from him, yeah.
You had said something in the Daily Mail, and I couldn't quite understand it, or at least this is how they perceived your answer to it, that it wasn't a coincidence that the timing of the Trump Doral incident coincided with Cassie Ventura ending her relationship with Sean Combs. What did you mean by that, if that is the correct statement?
Yeah, that's absolutely the correct statement, because it just fits Johnny's personality. If he was in the home with these girls and P. Diddy, and girls meaning Kim Porter and Cassie Ventura, he 100% would have told them, take the money and get out. Don't put up with this. Don't stay here. It would explain the hotel incident that I believe was in 2016 when we divorced and when he, you know, signed the NDA. You know, I think is the time when Cassie tried to grab supposedly a bag of money and run out of the hotel and he beat her up. And that's what I think a lot of domestic violence victims don't understand, that, well, in this case, it sounds like he was violent all the time, but some domestic violence cases are just very controlling, and the violence only happens when they try to leave.
If you or anyone you know is in any domestic violence, there is help available, and you can speak with someone today. Call 1-800-799-7233. If you would like to hear the entire interview, you can go over to Sidebar with Jesse Weber on YouTube. Excellent interview. Again, I would like for you to like, share, and subscribe. And leave in the comments how you feel about Sean Diddy Combs' trial coming up on Monday. If you know anyone that's been in domestic violence, because I think people take domestic violence like it's not that serious, or why don't they just leave? And for domestic violence, it's not like that. It's not that easy to just pick up and leave. Also, let me know in the comments, do you think that you could be a juror in this trial? You can't be biased or anything. Do you think that you can be an honest juror in this trial? Please let me know in the comments. I would love to know what you think. Thank you.